stage, and that'll be followed by the hydraulic
Strongback
movement.
retract has started.
Okay, we've heard the call out there. The strongback retract has started. Seeing a lot of condensation as we're boiling off, or we're actually have the cold second stage liquid oxygen meeting that warm Florida air. But we probably can see the arms start to open. And then once the arms are open, the strongback will move about 2 degrees away. And then once we're at launch, ground hydraulics will move the strongback to a position about 45 degrees away. Okay, we've heard the first stage fuel loading is complete. We're currently waiting for first stage liquid oxygen loading to complete at about T-minus 3 minutes. Second stage will complete a minute after that. Now, 1 minute before liftoff, you're going to hear the announcement Falcon 9 is in startup. Now, this announcement means the rocket's first and second stage computers are now controlling the launch countdown on the Falcon 9. Now, at about T-minus 2 seconds, we'll light the 9 engines on the first stage. Once the engines are confirmed to be at full power, the flight computer on the second stage will command the ground hold downs to release the rocket right at T0.
Stage 1, LOX load complete.
We've heard the call out. Stage 1 LOX load is complete. We're on time, coming up at T-minus 3 minutes and counting. Now, the satellite team is continuing to monitor the status and health of the Turksat-5B payload located inside the fairing on top of the second stage. Now, all the systems are go on the satellite. The satellite did switch from ground power to its internal batteries at T-minus 16 minutes. Coming up on T-minus 2.5 minutes shortly. Everything continues to look good. We're still loading liquid oxygen on the second stage. Now, currently the range is green. The air and sea space, as well as the area around Complex 40, they're clear for launch. And on the weather front, as we talked a few minutes ago, the good news is we don't have any weather that looks like it's going to hold us. But if we did have a weather rule violated, we cannot stop and try to launch later. But the good news is the weather looks good for launch. Now, if for some reason we have to call a hold on today's launch, we have a backup opportunity scheduled tomorrow at the same time.
So I just wanted to say hello to everybody. Welcome to the stream. We are watching SpaceX's launch of Turksat-5B. This is SpaceX's second launch of the day, and this satellite is going to geostationary orbit.
Blowing.
Let's watch.
Purging the liquid oxygen propellants out of the strongback that we're going up to the second stage. And then we'll be venting down pressure in the strongback.
Started.
And you can see there's a stream of white vapor coming off of the strongback. That's normal. That's just the excess pressure in the ground side being vented out. And it's meeting that warm, humid Florida air. And you get that white condensation. Next event coming in 10 seconds is going to be startup. We'll also begin pressurizing the first and second stages for launch.
Falcon is in startup.
We've gone to startup. Flight computers on both stages are now running the Falcon 9 countdown. Next event, launch directors go. We've gone to startup.
LD, go for launch.
You've heard it. Launch directors given the go. Everything continues to look good.
Go for launch. I'm just going to
T-minus
catch up to
36
the
seconds and counting. All systems are go for the launch of Falcon 9 with Turksat-5B.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And
off she goes. Beautiful.
Stage 1 chamber pressure terminal.
T plus 40 seconds. Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying the Turksat-5B satellite to geosynchronous transfer orbit.
Gorgeous.
We've throttled down in preparation for maximum dynamic pressure.
Coming up on max
throttle
Q.
bucket.
We're in the throttle bucket. My favorites.
Good views from the SpaceX ground cameras following the first stage.
Falcon is supersonic.
About to hit max
Gone
Q.
supersonic. The Merlin engines are back up to full power.
Max Q.
Max Q.
And we're through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Coming out of the throttle
Everything
bucket.
continues to look good. Trajectory is nominal. Avionics report systems are nominal. "100 seconds into flight coming up in just under a minute. We're going to have main engine cutoff, where we shut off the 9 Merlin 1D engines. We'll separate the stages, and then the second stage engine will ignite at about the 2-minute and 44-second mark.
MVAC is chilling in.
The MVAC-D engine chill-in call-out. We've begun putting a little bit of liquid oxygen through the turbo pump to get it cold in preparation for second stage ignition. That's coming up in just about 34 seconds from now. First stage is coming up on 4 Gs acceleration, and we're going to begin throttling down to hold 4 Gs. Getting ready for main engine cutoff.
First stage engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
Beautiful stage sep. And there she goes.
MVAC ignition.
We've got successful stage separation.
Beautiful
The second
flow from
stage
MVAC.
now under power of the single
Oh, look at
Merlin
the view on the
vacuum
left-hand
engine.
side.
We'll be coming up on fairing deploy in a little under 30 seconds. Views of the titanium grid fins beginning to deploy on the left as we see the lights of Florida in the background as we head east, due east from the Cape into our transfer orbit parking orbit. We're getting ready for the camera on second stage to switch forward to look at the spacecraft and the payload fairing for fairing deploy.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Just a gorgeous view of the first stage on the left-hand side there. Oh, beautiful fairing
And there you
separation,
see
too.
the 2 fairing halves have separated, falling away from the vehicle. We're now exposing the Turksat-5B satellite to outer space. As a reminder, we will be attempting to retrieve these 2 fairing halves with the help of our recovery vessel, Bob. Now, as mentioned
Hey,
previously,
Bob!
these
Bob's
2
gonna get
fairing
those
halves
fairings.
supported the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 5 mission in June of this year. But right now, we're at T plus 4 minutes and counting. Everything continues to go well for the Falcon 9 mission, carrying Turksat-5B into the parking orbit.
As John mentioned, it's T plus 4 minutes and now 20 seconds into today's mission. We're currently in the first of 2 planned MVAC burns for satellite deployment. At T plus 6 minutes and 27 seconds, you should see on your screen the first stage is entry burn, a burn that lasts 24 seconds. For the entry burn, we relight the center engine E9, and then partway through, we relight E1 and E5 engines. So we have a total of 3 M1D engines helping to slow down the vehicle as it passes through the Earth's atmosphere. You'll see this exhaust start as a circular plume at the bottom from the single engine, then shape into a longer, narrower plume when the other two engines ignite. Reusability is a key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which enables more investments in critical scientific research. The Falcon 9, that first stage that is supporting today's mission, will perform this entry burn for the 3rd time, having previously supported both the CRS-22 resupply flight to the ISS and the Crew 3 launch just last month. Great view on the right-hand side of the MVAC nozzle. The Merlins on the first stage with their short nozzles, are optimized for sea level. These achieve around 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent, while the MVAC engine with its extended nozzle is optimized for 220,000 pounds of thrust in vacuum. Now we're about 45 seconds away from the entry burn on the first stage. If you're just joining us, we had a successful launch from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral, And we're currently watching the second stage on the right-hand side of your screen enter orbit. With the left-hand side of your screen, the first stage is heading back to our drone ship in the Atlantic, a short fall of gravitas.
Entry burn coming up here momentarily.
Let's watch out for that landing, that entry burn begin in just a moment.
Stage 1, FTS is saved.
Stage 1, entry startup.
Entry startup.
Really bright from that entry burn start.
There we go. You can see the line of engine fire there from the 3 engines. Entry burn shutdown will be coming in just a few moments. There's shutdown.
Stage 1,
Now
entry
you're going
burn
to see
shutdown.
some very spicy
And there it
grid
looks like
fins.
we've had a successful entry burn shutdown.
Watch for the sparks.
If you
and
noticed
the
on the
heat
launch pad, the Falcon 9,
on the grid
Trajectory is
when the
nominal.
Falcon 9 makes its way back to Earth, you may notice some different soot markings on the outer side, or the outer edges of the rocket. If you ever wondered how those soot markings are formed, it's because the soot is generated when the carbon-based rocket-grade kerosene RP1 burns. Since reentry occurs engines first, the booster flies through its own plume, which deposits the soot on the rocket, and you can see some of those sparks and soot flying up at the camera there on the left-hand side.
Terminal guidance.
Again, as a quick recap, we had a successful liftoff at 10:58 p.m. from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. A successful separation of the first and second stages. The first stage is on its way back to our drone ship, a short fall of gravitas in the Atlantic Ocean.
Stage 2, FTS is saved.
And the second stage is heading to its initial orbital insertion with the Turksat-5B satellite. We're coming up on a couple events, SECO 1 and landing burn.
Come on, landing. Seco.
Back engine cutoff.
Come on, landing. Here we go.
Stage 1, landing burn.
Oh, you can see the. Oh, we got the
A
camera from the.
successful second engine cutoff, and
Nominal orbit
the landing
insertion.
burn has just started.
There's the camera from the booster. Oh, it looks gorgeous.
And we just
Wow.
heard good orbit,
Come on, legs.
confirmed a nominal orbital insertion. We're now
Stage
waiting on
1,
our
landing
Falcon
leg
to
deployed.
land on drone ship.
There's the
A
ship.
short fall of gravitas.
Good landing. Woo!
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
And there you have it. That's SpaceX's 99th successful booster landing, as well as SpaceX's 78th mission flying a refuel and booster. Our mission isn't over just yet. The second stage is now embarking on its coast phase between the first and second burns of the MVAC-D engine. After the coast phase, we will light the MVAC engine for a second time, a little bit after T plus 26 minutes.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
We'll see you back here in about 20 minutes at T plus
Awesome.
26 minutes. In the meantime, enjoy some space tunes.
Well, thank you everybody for watching the first part of the mission with me. I'm gonna stick around for the second part. Coming up in a little less than 20 minutes. And let's go back and watch that landing again.
40 and SECO 1 and landing.
And back engine cutoff.
Stage
Here's
1,
our landing
burn.
again.
Had a successful second engine cutoff, and
Nominal orbit
the
insertion.
landing burn has just started. And we just heard good orbit. Confirmed a nominal orbital insertion. We're now
Stage
waiting
1,
on our
landing
Falcon
leg
to
deployed.
land on drone ship, a short fall of gravitas.
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
And there you have
Beautiful.
it. That's SpaceX's
Just beautiful.
99th successful booster landing, as well as SpaceX's 78th mission flying a refuel and booster. Our mission isn't over just yet. The second stage is now embarking on its coast phase between the first and second burns of the MVAC-D engine. After the coast, we're now
Stage
waiting
1,
on our
landing
Falcon
leg
to
deployed.
land on drone ship, a short fall of gravitas.
Wow. Just awesome. thank you for joining me, guys. It's great to have you here watching with me. I do have another stream coming up. It's going to be pretty late, but I think a lot of people in the world are going to be watching it. December 24th. James Webb Space Telescope is launching. The launch for James Webb is going to be, let's go take a look here at our schedule. It's going to be at 7:20 a.m. on Christmas Eve on the 24th. So that's 7:20 a.m. Eastern Time on Christmas Eve. That is, I believe, let's check UTC. So it's 12:20 p.m. UTC or 7:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 4:20 a.m. Pacific time in North America. Excuse me. So yeah, you should join me. It's going to be an incredibly stressful launch. James Webb Space Telescope, $10 billion space telescope, is going to be launching atop the Ariane 5. Probably more importantly with James Webb is not the money necessarily that went into it, but it has been worked on for almost 20 or around 20 or 30 years, from its initial inception to getting it to launch. It will be by far the most advanced space telescope ever constructed by humans, and it can teach us a lot about the universe that we live in, and even give us some amazing possibly direct imaging of exoplanets. So very excited for James Webb. It is a very stressful launch. Ariane 5, which is the rocket that is going to launch it, has had a couple issues the past 2 years. So that's a bit stressful. But really, a lot of the stress for James Webb comes in that in order to fit inside its fairing, they had to have it like fold in on itself. So when it gets up into space, it has to unfold and unfurl, and there's a whole but like a couple hundred different steps at which it may fail. Pretty stressful. And it's also, unlike the Hubble, it's going to somewhere where we can't fix it. It's going to, it's going beyond the moon to Lagrange point L2, and it will be going 1 million kilometers from Earth. You may know that the moon is only about 400,000 kilometers from Earth, so it's significantly further than the moon. So we'll all be watching on the morning of Christmas Eve, and we'll watch James Webb launch, and then for the following couple months, we all get to sort of cross our fingers and toes that it deploys successfully and makes its way out to L2. I hope you'll come and join me. Hey, Motive. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. I can't wait for James Webb to get operational. It is a far more complex telescope than anything we've built before, and can really help move the needle forward for science. And it's one of those things where you're like, well, this is gonna be really amazing if it works, but if it doesn't, it's gonna be a disaster. So thankfully work is already underway for James Webb's successor as well, and Hubble is still working, which is really cool because we didn't really know when we were planning all this that whether or not Hubble would still be operational. So the telescope to carry on after James Webb is known as LUVOIR. It is significantly larger even than James Webb, and it is sort of in the planning stages right now. They're aiming at a very large vehicle to launch that telescope, looking at probably Starship or perhaps New Glenn when it comes online. Going to need all that fairing space to fit in a giant telescope. There also is some hope too that if they have a big enough launch vehicle, they won't need to have it built so that it can fold up, and origami itself. They're hoping that they could just have it the mirror be one solid piece instead of having to fold together in space. To also exacerbating this concern is, of course, the recent launch of the Lucy mission had issues, and it's probably going to be able to carry out its mission. NASA may even be able to fix the problem with it, but it does have one of its 2 solar arrays is not fully deployed. It had a problem with deployment, and it's stuck at 75% deployed, so they're down a little bit on power. They are going to try. NASA is going to try and fully. They're going to try redeploying that solar array, but they're sort of taking their time. They have lots of time on the Lucy mission. It's got a long way to fly before it gets where it's going, and so they're going to make sure that they've figured everything out before they try and command the spacecraft to open that solar array again. But it does make the whole deployment phase of JWST a little more nerve-wracking. So, yeah, that's coming up. There's lots of amazing space stuff coming up, as always, For those, I haven't really talked a lot to you guys recently, but I agree, Mud Truck. A mesh telescope system would be great, and I do think that they should go that direction. I do think that there's a very good case to be made for lots of small telescopes instead of working together, instead of doing these monolithic telescopes. But I would really like to see them do both rather than just one or the other. But yeah, I would definitely love to see some work on a mesh telescope system. And should also update you a little bit on Starship. Starship has been coming along pretty good. Things have been a little less high profile lately. Basically, SpaceX has been waiting for their environmental approval to come through for orbital launches from Boca Chica, Texas. They are making good progress on that. The FAA has promised that by December 31st, they will have a ruling on the environmental review. I am expecting that they will pass environmental review with mitigations, so should be good. Mud Trucker, yeah, there's a lot of news on the pad front. So Starship, Elon confirmed this, and we've also seen some action already in this regard. They are moving ahead with building a Starship pad at 39A, pad 39A. At Kennedy Space Center. This is the pad where they currently launch astronauts from, and also the pad that launched Apollo and the space shuttle. There's a Starship pad going to be built there, not on top of where the Falcon pad is right now, but actually off to the side. So it'll be like a separate tower and launch mount from the Falcon one. And then they also, on top of that, have been in NASA has started an environmental review for a notional pad, basically a possible future pad at Launch Complex 49, which is just a little north of 39A and 39B. So Launch Complex 49 would be a Starship launch facility as well, and NASA has started an environmental review to determine whether or not that can go ahead. So there's lots of action on the Starship front. A lot of it is planning stuff right now. I know everybody's very eager to get more test flights going. We had a whole bunch of those earlier in 2021. Hopefully we can see an orbital test flight here in the next few months. I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be. Heard things, one way or the other. Maybe it's going to be soon. Maybe it's going to be a few months. It depends. But I do think it's going to happen in 2021. So that's really good. Not 2021, 2022, sorry. I am starting to suspect that the first orbital launch attempt from Starship will be more of a let's see what we need to work on type of thing, whereas it will probably have a very low chance of success, like maybe 10%. So, because it's a very difficult system, they're trying to work out a lot of bugs with that system. It's not something anybody has ever done before. Building a reusable a fully reusable 2-stage launch vehicle just hasn't been done, and so there's a lot of potential pitfalls along the way. Especially something of that size. It will be by far the largest rocket ever launched. It's also worth noting that Rocket Lab also announced their Neutron rocket recently, and they also gave us some details on it. Neutron will be a fairly large launch vehicle. It will be 7 meters at the base, but not very tall, only about 40 meters tall. It will basically cone down from a 7-meter base down to I think a 5-meter fairing. And the big news with that one, well, a couple of big pieces of news with that one. It will be reusable, so it will come back to the launch site, like some of the Falcon flights do. But it will Rocket Lab's Neutron will always come back to the launch site. So whenever it's recovered, it will fly back. This means it's a fairly large rocket with a fairly low payload capacity for its size, but that's because it always comes all the way back to the launch site after a launch. So it can launch 8 tons to low Earth orbit reusably. And the other cool thing is that its fairing will be a 4-piece fairing, and it will open kind of like if any of you have seen Stranger Things, kind of like the Demogorgon's mouth. It's a 4-piece fairing, and it will open up and release the payload, and then it will close back on itself. So the fairing will be reusable as well. It will land with the fairing it's still attached. Pretty cool design. It is pretty early. In development. I wouldn't expect to see it for another probably 4 years, I'm guessing. But that'll be really amazing too. It looks like a good launch vehicle. They are leaning into their experience with carbon composites too. Neutron will be a carbon composite rocket, just like the Electron is. So that will be exciting. So I think we're kind of caught up on space news. I just wanted to sort of talk about all those things briefly. Hope everyone enjoyed that little news spurt. We are almost ready here. Hey, there's the second stage. Just going to fast forward us here and make sure that we're up to speed. Perfect. Coming up here shortly on SES-2, which is second engine start 2. This looks like it's going to be a very short burn, so they're just correcting the orbit a little bit. I think this is going from a low Earth orbit out to a geostationary transfer orbit. And then looks like deployment's just going to be a few minutes after that. There is space dust, but in this case it's mostly little bits of ice that are falling off of the rocket.
Welcome back to the webcast of the Falcon 9 mission carrying the Turksat-5B satellite, designed and developed by Airbus. We're coming up on the second burn of the upper stage engine in just under 30 seconds. Now to recap what's happened so far this evening, we had a smooth liftoff at 10:58 p.m. Eastern Time. 2.5 minutes later, our first and second stages successfully separated. The first stage, which made its third flight today, landed on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. Now the second stage completed its first burn, and that successfully inserted today's payload and second stage into the parking orbit you see on your screen right now. We're getting ready to relight the second stage engine to put us into the geotransfer orbit.
Beautiful. And there's SES-2.
And back restart ignition.
We've got ignition of the second
that
stage
glow
engine.
back.
We're up on power. Now at this point, the second stage will burn for about 1 minute before shutting down for the second time. This shutdown event is called SECO-2, which stands for Second Stage Engine Cutoff Number 2. And this burn will place the Turksat-5B satellite into the required orbit prior to separating it from the Falcon 9. Now, as you can see, during this burn, we're going to add about 2,700 meters per second, almost 6,000 miles per hour to the speed of the Falcon 9 second stage. And that's going to take us well in excess of the standard geo orbit of 35,000 kilometers. We're hearing tank pressure is looking good. Engine performance looks nominal. And we've heard, we've got shutdown of the second stage engine. You saw it briefly on the screen.
Beautiful.
And in the background, we heard nominal orbit insertion.
Excellent.
So that's the good orbit call out that we always like to hear. So as a reminder, for those tuning in, the Turksat-5B satellite is still attached to Falcon 9's second stage. And you can just see it a little bit there. We're getting into sunrise as we're coming up over Gabon, or leaving the Gabon ground station, coming up over Heart of Beastock in Africa. So right now, we're going to wait a few more minutes for the satellite and the second stage to get closer to the final destination. So we're going to pause the commentary during the second coast phase, but we'll come back just before stage 2 separation takes place. We'll be back at about T plus 33 minutes and 30 seconds, about a minute before separation. And until then, as Ian says, enjoy the space tunes, and we'll see you back here.
Holy man, what a picture. Check out this picture from Emery Kelly. Amazing picture.
Acquisition of signal, HPK.
God. Beautiful picture from Merrick Sizio as well.
Acquisition signal, Mauritius.
Oh, man.
Welcome back to our launch
Jesus.
coverage of the Turksat-5B mission. If you're just joining us, we have just one more major milestone coming up to complete today's mission, which of course is the deployment of the Turksat-5B satellite from Falcon 9's second stage,
All right,
which
we're
is
here for
scheduled to take
deployment.
place in about a minute. Prior to reaching this upcoming milestone, we had an on-time launch at 10:58 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by a successful ascent, separation, first stage landing, and 2 second stage engine burns. As previously mentioned, the Turksat-5B satellite was designed by our customer Airbus to provide broadband internet services to areas such as the Middle East, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, Nigeria, various parts of Africa, and its immediate neighbors in addition to Turkey. Turksat-5B will be the most powerful of the Turksat satellite fleet and has a designed service life of over 35 years. Now, in any moment, we'll witness the satellite's deployment from our Falcon 9's second stage.
Time for deployment, folks.
Get a good view right here.
Payload separation confirmed.
Beautiful.
And there you have it. We've received a successful
There goes
separation of the
Turksat.
Turksat-5B satellite from the Falcon 9 second stage, which now brings today's webcast coverage to a close.
Expected losses signal.
Thank you to
given.
Airbus for entrusting us with the Turksat-5B satellite. A big thank you to the Range and the Federal Aviation Administration. We really appreciate having your support for today's mission. It's been an exciting day here at SpaceX, having supported 2 missions within roughly 18-hour time frame. But as we mentioned before, it doesn't end there. Be sure to join us for the next cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station with the CRS-24 mission, currently targeted for Tuesday, December 21st at 5:06 a.m. Eastern Time. And to all our viewers, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon.
Awesome. We'll just wait until Turksat-5B drifts off into the distance there. All right, thank you everybody for watching. I'm gonna shut her down here and have a great evening.